a killer targeting young women suddenly appeared in the city, and I was prophesied to be the next victim, but I am the daughter of King Yama, capable of commanding a myriad of ghosts. That night, the killer broke down the door and barged in. I calmly turned on the TV, and Sadako, with her long hair covering her face, slowly crawled out from inside. I am Yin, daughter of King Yama. After my term of service ended, my father praised my diligent work and granted me a special 1-month leave. I chose to come to the mortal realm to de-stress, but no sooner had I set my luggage down at the resort hotel than the director of the Supernatural Management Bureau called, pleading for my help. I hurried to the Supernatural Management Bureau. The director breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing me. "Your Highness, you've finally arrived." I lazily let out a long yawn, my mood far from pleasant. "What do you want with me? What could be more detestable than being dragged into unexpected overtime during my vacation?" The director, his face drenched in cold sweat, rushed to explain. "Do you remember that gangster boss, Your Highness Yang, and you suggested we find a Lich Demon to deal with him? The situation now seems to have spiraled beyond our control." The director then recounted the full story. That gangster boss had sold his soul to a demon. The Supernatural Management Bureau, thinking they could follow suit, summoned a Lich Demon for their own use. But the demon didn't obey. Instead, it possessed a serial killer and began committing atrocities. It consumed humans as food, particularly fond of young women, thus targeting adolescent girls. Over 10 young women have been murdered so far. I flipped through the photos of the victims, all aged between 15 and 20, and couldn't help but curse. Damn it! I stared coldly at the director, who, feeling guilty, wiped the cold sweat from his face. "Your Highness, now is not the time to assign blame. After we capture that Lich Demon, you can kill and skin me, and I won't utter a single complaint." Truly useless. You can't even handle such a small matter, forcing me to intervene personally. Having agreed to the task, I returned to the hotel, chewing gum as I opened my laptop, waiting for midnight. The underworld has a rule: one cannot arbitrarily interfere in the mortal realm without permission. Exorcising demons is no exception. My only permitted interaction with the mortal realm is through the exchange of lifespans. As the clock struck 12, I opened my live stream room. "Hello, darlings, long time no see." The moment the stream began, the prohibition was lifted. Netizens, recalling my existence, teared up, recounting how much they missed me. "Streamer, you're finally back. Without you, recent streams just haven't had your unique flavor. I miss you so much." I smiled. A colleague had taken leave, so I'd temporarily asked her to host a session. "The old rule still applies. Tell me the cruelest thing you've ever done, and you can exchange it for any item. Who wants to connect their mic first?" The moment my words ended, the comment section fell silent, waiting for the single lucky person to appear. The next second, a mic connection request popped up. I accepted. Immediately, his sinister laughter echoed through the live stream room, chilling and piercing, making one's hair stand on end. His hoarse voice emerged like a death warrant from hell. "Can anything truly come true? Guaranteed true." I looked at the blurry figure in the video, baring 8 teeth, and smiled sincerely. "And can I have 20 young girls?" Hearing this, I frowned. "Are you a breeding hog? You want that many?" Unexpectedly, my single comment enraged him. The figure suddenly lifted his hood, revealing a face devoid of skin, crisscrossed with blood vessels obviously for eating. He pulled up his shirt and patted his bulging, round belly. "My appetite is enormous." His stomach was like a grotesque ball, a mix of purplish blue and dark green, with lines resembling stretch marks from pregnancy. But far more terrifying, this sight before me was utterly horrifying, repulsive. If my professional composure hadn't been so strong, I might have vomited right there. In short, all the netizens were scared out of their wits. Comments scrolled by rapidly. "Oh my gods, what in hell is that thing? So disgusting. A demon, and he eats people, young girls at that. I think this is truly a toad wanting to eat a swan." This Lich Demon, named Flesh Fiend, was hideous in appearance, loved to consume beautiful things, and detested being called ugly. This time, the netizens had truly angered him. He suddenly straightened his face, his cold eyes fixed on the camera, and slowly said, "You will all die." All right, I interjected, fearing he would implicate innocent people. "You want 20 young girls, right? You surely know the rules of my live stream room." The Flesh Fiend chuckled darkly. "The 18 girls who died recently were all killed by me. I peeled off their beautiful, pristine skin and savored it slowly. They screamed and begged for mercy, but I enjoyed the pleasure of tormenting my prey." He vividly described the bloody scene of skinning and killing. As a veteran of many battles, I was long immune. My expression remained utterly unchanged. The Flesh Fiend, displeased by my composure, asked, "Why aren't you scared?" I shook my head, honestly suggesting, "Look, you've eaten so much skin, and yet you haven't become any more beautiful. How about we try a different approach? I know a good plastic surgery hospital. Shall I recommend it to you?" The netizens understood the sarcasm in my words and burst into hysterical laughter. Streamer is implying he's too ugly, dying of laughter. They say you are what you eat, but this demon can't get any prettier. He's truly deluded. As expected, the comments flooded with jeers. The Flesh Fiend, unable to contain his rage, stretched his long, slender fingertip through the screen and pointed at me. "Just you wait, I'll come and kill you right now." With a asterisk snap asterisk, he disconnected from the live stream. The netizens were all worried about my situation, suggesting plans. "Streamer, should we call the police? What if that mad killer really comes?" No need to panic. I chewed my gum distractedly, blew a bubble, and popped it. I had expected the Flesh Fiend to arrive immediately, but an hour passed. From the TV, faint rustling sounds emerged, followed by an anxious voice. "All right, go back to sleep. Just a little longer." I approached the TV, intending to comfort it. Just then, strange footsteps echoed down the hallway, and then he burst through the door. The Flesh Fiend raised his scythe high, chuckling darkly. The comment section was filled with screams. They seemed more terrified than I was. I looked up, a faint smile on my face. With a asterisk snap asterisk, I turned on the TV. "Greetings, esteemed viewers, and welcome to the evening news." The sound of the news broadcast somewhat dispelled the terrifying atmosphere. The Flesh Fiend looked bewildered, not understanding my strange action. "Facing death, and you're still watching TV?" The next second, the signal was lost, the TV screen filled with static snow, emitting a buzzing sound. Immediately after, a creaking, groaning sound came from the TV, like ancient rotten wood swaying back and forth in the wind. Under the astonished gaze of the Flesh Fiend and the vast number of netizens, Sadako, with her long hair covering her face, slowly crawled out of the television. Sadako scurried across the floor, emitting guttural croaks, a sound that made one's skin crawl. Though her movements were stiff, her speed was incredibly fast. Her hair, as if it had eyes, shot out, instantly lengthening and wrapping tightly around the Flesh Fiend's eyes and ears. The next second, the entire Sadako clung to the Flesh Fiend, opening her mouth and biting down on his neck, his weakest point. A sickening retch coincided with the Flesh Fiend's agonizing shriek. Sadako suddenly turned and glared at me, muttering, "Damn it, this old man's flesh is sour and tough, and it stinks. Good heavens, how long has it been since he showered?" Ah, this Flesh Fiend was imprisoned in the 10,000 Blades hell. It seems he didn't have the luxury of bathing. More importantly, I hadn't expected Sadako to have such high standards for food. It had to be fresh and appealing. She merely sampled a bit before tearing a patch of greenish-blue skin from the Flesh Fiend's neck and throwing it to the ground. "Arg!" The Flesh Fiend immediately cried out in pain, instinctively raising the scythe in his hand, intending to chop off Sadako's head. But his eyes and ears were tightly covered by Sadako's silky black hair. Unable to see or hear, his movements were clumsy. The scythe swung down, squarely cutting off a section of Sadako's hair. I couldn't help but let out a little HMPH, taking a sharp breath, inwardly lamenting for the Flesh Fiend. He's done for. Aside from being a picky eater, this Sadako demon valued her beautiful hair more than anything. Sure enough, when Sadako saw the hair she had meticulously cared for decades floating like snow in midair, she instantly went berserk, throwing her head back and letting out a piercing shriek. Kneeling on the Flesh Fiend's shoulders, her hands transformed into claws, her sharp nails extending, powerfully plunging into his brain. She shrieked with hatred, "Give me back my hair." However, the Flesh Fiend was in too much pain to think, relying only on instinct to wildly swing his scythe, desperate to dislodge the terrifying thing clinging to his shoulder. The scene was a brutal and bloody melee. One wrong move and you'd be splattered with strange liquids. I waved my hand, conjuring a bedsheet to wrap around myself for protection, then quietly retreated to a corner, giving them ample space to unleash their full power. Ah, I'm scared to death. Holy crap, are we watching a horror movie? Speaking of movies, I only ever saw one called Pen Spirit vs. Sadako. Sadako is a local Japanese ghost, so why is she here? Oh, you up there, your worldview is too narrow. Haven't you seen the People's anti-Japanese TV series, Sadako? Agreed. You also haven't seen how those Japanese dwarves treated Sadako. How Sadako died, why shouldn't she help our great Huaxia? Exactly, whoever is a friend of Huaxia, we treat them kindly. I was stunned. Faced with such a heart-stopping spectacle, they not only treated it like a horror movie, but also idly debated who Sadako belonged to. Their strong mentality truly made me bow in admiration. Meanwhile, the close-quarters battle between Sadako and the Flesh Fiend raged on, a joyous, no-holds-barred exchange of tearing and biting. The Flesh Fiend, realizing he was no match for the enraged Sadako, found an opportunity and fled. By the time I reacted, only a woman in a white dress with disheveled hair remained before me. Sadako said, "He's too dirty, I want to take a bath." Though her voice was cold, it carried the distinct, soft, sweet undertone of a Japanese girl, immediately winning over the netizens. Holy cow, I didn't know Miss Sadako's voice was so lovely. Sadako must have been a voice actress when she was alive, right? It seems Sadako and the streamer know each other. I wonder if I'll ever get a chance to hear Miss Sadako tell bedtime stories. I glanced over, scoffing inwardly. Bold thoughts indeed. Snap asterisk. I snapped my fingers. The messy hotel room instantly reverted to its original state. I then called the front desk, asking them to send up a set of women's clothes. After that, I led Sadako into the bathroom. Sadako's ankle-length hair now twisted only to her waist. Seeing herself in the mirror, she let out an angry shriek and punched the mirror. The mirror shattered instantly, and a sturdy wall also collapsed with a crash. We and the guests in the adjacent room were completely exposed, clearly seeing the young couple in the opposite bedroom in the middle of an intimate act. The terrifyingly loud noise caused the man to ejaculate immediately. He rolled off the girl, scrambling up and asking in shock, "Holy hell, an earthquake." Instantly turned, saw Sadako and me, quickly grabbed the blanket to cover himself and the girl, then cursed, "Are you too sick, you perverts?" Sadako, already in a state of fury, became even more enraged by the insult. Her hair slowly rose, about to transform into sharp needles to pierce the man. Fearing she would harm innocent people, I wrapped my arms around her waist, forcibly dragging the demon out of the bathroom. No more bathing. I still have to compensate the hotel for damages. The underworld has a rule: when in the mortal realm, you must abide by its regulations, or you'll face punishment upon returning. Sigh asterisk. I had only intended to have a simple vacation. Who knew I'd encounter such trouble? So constrained, so annoying. I handed Sadako the clothes the attendant brought and used a claw clip to tie up her hair, revealing her delicate face. Unaccustomed to wearing clothes, she kept tugging at the hem of the dress, muttering, "I want to bathe, I want to bathe." Damn it, she's a clean freak. Perhaps it's a lingering effect from living so long in a dry well. I patiently coaxed her. All right, once we find a place to stay, I'll let you bathe." Sadako, comforted, finally quieted down. I took out the yin-yang token and began to summon help. I had intended to casually summon some random demon or ghost to solve the housing problem, but the one who appeared was Yang. He saw us, both looking as disheveled as street beggars, and was incredulous. "Kiddo, that's me." I grumbled, genuinely not wanting Yang to see me in such a miserable state. Even though we had a competitive relationship, I couldn't let him look down on me, right? Yang pressed his lips together, suppressing a smile, and led us to Master Zhu's place. Master Zhu was his contact in the mortal realm. Yang usually stayed here when on missions. I glanced at Master Zhu, my face filled with reluctance, wondering if I should find a new contact, as I had a feeling I'd be working in the mortal realm for a long time to come. After her bath, Sadako was content. She set her sights on Master Zhu's 60-inch high-definition LCD TV. She clung to the edge of the TV, pushing her head right into it. Master Zhu, awakened in the middle of the night and still trying to shake off sleep to attend to his golden patron, Yang, was drowsy. Now, seeing his TV being destroyed like this, he instantly sobered up. Crash, he dropped the tray, the teapot and cups shattered on the floor. Then he yelled, "Holy crap," and rushed to grab Sadako around the waist, pulling with all his might to get the demon out. Sadako had already gotten halfway into the screen but was pulled out halfway. She was utterly displeased. She suddenly turned, staring at Master Zhu, and said in a chilling voice, "I want to sleep." In that moment, Sadako exuded a cold, killing intent. Chilling yin energy rose from the floor, making Master Zhu's legs tremble, fear etched on his face. He instinctively let go, falling with a thud to the ground. With no more resistance, Sadako successfully climbed into the screen, while Master Zhu sat on the floor, dumbfounded. Yang and I exchanged a glance, then calmly averted our eyes. I took a sip of tea and asked him, "So, you invited Sadako to deal with the Flesh Fiend?" I recalled the two demons' battle today. It was hard to say who would win, ultimately due to certain constraints. My and your identities are very special. We cannot directly intervene in this matter. Otherwise, why would it be so troublesome? Yang smiled faintly, unconcerned. At least there must be some rules. If all of the underworld interfered in the mortal realm, wouldn't it lead to chaos? I nodded. True. The Flesh Fiend was beaten and fled, severely wounded. He's probably hiding somewhere to recover now. The director of the Supernatural Management Bureau, perhaps thinking I couldn't capture the Flesh Fiend last night, had formed some opinions about me. This morning, he came to plead with Yang again. "Your Highness, you absolutely must help, otherwise the mortal realm will face catastrophic disaster." These words sounded as if he was blaming me for being ineffective. My eyes filled with cold disapproval. Yang glanced at me, his expression inscrutable. "Director, with such serious consequences, why didn't you think carefully before acting when you initially planned to summon a demon? If you had accepted my and Yin's suggestion to summon a Lich Demon to help deal with that gangster boss, you could have submitted an application to the underworld. There are many demons in the underworld. Directly sending one to them wouldn't have led to today's situation caused by arbitrary decisions." The director saw that Yang and I were united, his face looking somewhat displeased, but due to the difference in our statuses, despite his reluctance, he had to swallow his anger. After clarifying the location where they had performed the summoning ritual for the Flesh Fiend, Yang and I left the Supernatural Management Bureau side by side. The moment we stepped out the door, Yang quietly said, "A person with such dishonest intentions is not qualified to continue as director of the Supernatural Management Bureau." Coincidentally, I had also intended to depose him, but lacked the authority to mobilize the necessary power. I had planned to secretly deal with him somewhere after the Flesh Fiend matter was resolved. Yang's words now saved me some trouble. Demons are roughly divided into 6 ranks. Humble Heart Ghost are ghosts who die normally, preparing for reincarnation, and usually don't harm people. White Shirt Ghost are recently deceased. Those with low Yang energy and bad luck are likely to encounter them. This type of ghost can be mischievous and tease people. Yellow Banner ghosts die mainly due to money or material reasons. Black Shadow form roughly in 2 ways. 1, from terminal illness or dying from resentment. 2, they appear as vengeful spirits seeking substitutes due to unjust deaths and heavy grievances. Lich Demon is the type we are most familiar with. Supreme Purity Ghost transcends the category of ghosts. Their magic power is high. They can drain a person's life force, shortening their lifespan, and can also transform into human form, pass through walls, appear in daylight, and move objects. They are the most difficult to deal with. I could only be fortunate that the Flesh Fiend had not yet reached that level and still needed to possess a human body to commit evil. The location where they summoned the Flesh Fiend was a remote island, where traces of the ritual array still lingered. This array was called the 10,000 Spirits Yin Formation. All evil spirits in the world, big or small, would answer its call. The only drawback was that you never knew what you would summon, like opening a blind box. The Flesh Fiend was originally imprisoned in the dark, sunless 10,000 Blades hell, his limbs bound tightly to iron pillars, suffering the agony of 1,000 cuts, ceaseless and eternal torment. Thinking about how he enjoyed peeling off the entire skin of young girls, it seemed like an experience drawn from his own suffering. That's settled then. My only remaining question is, the 10,000 Blades hell is very strictly guarded. How did the Flesh Fiend manage to escape? Could there be an insider in the underworld? My heart sank, my hair stood on end, a dense fear filling my chest. I instinctively turned to look at Yang. He was also looking at me, clearly sharing the same thought. If there was an insider in the underworld, and the Supernatural Management Bureau had summoned the Lich Demon, using the enemy's own plan against them, releasing the Flesh Fiend. No. Yang picked up a handful of blood-stained mud and sand, then stood up. Kiddo, I'm returning to the underworld to investigate. This place is yours. I hummed in agreement, my expression more serious than ever. Immediately after, he tore a clean piece of fabric from his robe, wrapped the blood-stained mud in it, and handed it to me. These bloodstains were all left by the Flesh Fiend. You can use this to track his whereabouts. Yang and I parted ways. He went by cloud riding, while I, being lazy, took out my phone and scrolled through TikTok. I found 2 videos searching for missing girls, both of whom disappeared yesterday evening after school. Both were 18 years old, beautiful, pure, and fresh-faced. Netizens were speculating if some shadowy organization had abducted them for organ harvesting, but my instinct told me this wasn't so simple. I immediately rushed to the police station. Xian, the director's daughter, was a crazy fan of Yang. When Yang, disguised as a Taoist priest, came to the mortal realm to help her family exorcise a ghost in her childhood, Xian was captivated by Yang's face. Enticed by his looks, she demanded to marry him every day. To be closer to her idol, she even ran to a Taoist temple to become an apprentice. It was a shame that only a handful of celestial masters and Taoist priests remained in the world. Since I am Yang's sister, Xian also respected me quite a bit. Now seeing me appear, she pulled my hand, chattering nonstop. Her main topic was only one: "Where's Yang? Isn't he coming?" As she spoke, she kept peeking behind me. I gripped Xian's hand, decisively selling out my brother. "Help me with this one thing, and I'll persuade Yang to have a candlelight dinner with you." Xian's eyes lit up, and she agreed without hesitation. "Okay, tell me. Even if it means climbing a mountain of blades or descending into an oil cauldron, I'll do it for you." "It's not that serious," I said. "I just need you to show me the surveillance footage from the road where the 2 girls disappeared." It was the end of the month, and 12th grade students had a weekend break. The 2 girls, seemingly best friends, left school hand in hand. They didn't go home immediately but went to a street vendor, each buying a cheap necklace. As they put them on each other, I clearly saw a purple thread running along the earlobe, winding around the edge of one side of the pendant. That was the mark. The Flesh Fiend would follow the path marked by the purple thread to peel off their skin. The methods of skinning he knew were 3. 1. Cutting along the spine like unfolding wings. 2. The mercury pouring method. 3. The asphalt skinning method. Regardless of the method, they were all too horrifying to describe in detail here. But given the Flesh Fiend's nasty disposition, he would surely act directly and with extreme cruelty. 18 innocent girls had already lost their lives. No more innocent souls could be allowed to perish. After paying, the 2 girls happily walked arm in arm toward their homes. They turned into a dead-end alley and walked straight through a wall. A flicker of surprise crossed Xian's eyes. She excitedly asked me, "Yin, do those 2 girls also know magic like you and Yang, so they can walk through walls?" "No, that's not it." Xian couldn't see it, but a road extended from beneath their feet, a road that didn't exist in their eyes. Unsuspecting, they walked straight into a deep abyss shrouded in black misty fog. Immediately, my heart chilled even further. This Flesh Fiend, damn it, hiding so deep. Does he want to play cat and mouse with me? Very well, this young lady will play along with you delightfully. I used the handful of blood-stained mud I brought back from the island to pinpoint the Flesh Fiend's location. Then, I mixed black dog blood with glutinous rice and cooked it into a pot of rice. I also burned talismans into ash, which I then mixed with incense ash brought from extremely sacred temples. Finally, I cooked the piece of skin Sadako had torn from the Flesh Fiend's neck. Using an illusion spell, I wrapped it into rice balls, simply packaged, disguised as a delivery meal, and tossed it into Master Zhu's lap. "Go deliver this food." Master Zhu was a yin-yang courier. If the underworld sent something to the mortal realm, or vice versa, it could be transported through a yin-yang courier. They possessed the ability to travel between the 2 realms. The Flesh Fiend was hiding somewhere in the underworld, so it was better for Master Zhu to pave the way. He was currently flirting with Sadako, and my interruption made him disgruntled. "Who are you? By what authority do you order me around?" I looked at him coldly, giving Sadako a subtle signal with my eyes. Sadako immediately latched onto his shoulder, her icy body pressing against his back. She leaned close to his ear, blowing a puff of yin energy, her voice chillingly eerie. "Master Zhu, what did you say?" Master Zhu trembled, instantly losing his nerve. I'll go. "I'm a courier, aren't I?" With that, he stood up, ready to depart. Sadako hovered in midair, dangling her legs, looking at me as if demanding payment. I told her I'd give her an extra chicken drumstick tonight. I sent the GPS coordinates to Master Zhu. Master Zhu rode off on his motorcycle, carrying a 60-inch LCD TV on his back, muttering curses the entire way. This time, Sadako was the main force for dealing with the Flesh Fiend. Her demands, rational or irrational, I would meet. Fortunately, our Sadako was very sensible, asking for nothing but to sleep inside the TV at Master Zhu's house. To legitimately claim this TV, Sadako even came up with the idea of flirting with him. Truly a demon of principle and etiquette, not resorting to direct snatching, threats, or intimidation. How rare, I marveled inwardly. Underworld inhabitants have their own unique method of travel, the spirit pearl. This pearl was true to its name. Throw the pearl into the air, silently concentrating on your desired destination. The entire journey would be condensed into a converging mist, significantly shortening travel time. Thus, it only took us half an hour to reach the Flesh Fiend's hideout. The place was shrouded in thick fog, with white bones piled on all sides and an eerie hooting sound of birds. Master Zhu instinctively shivered, pulling his neck into his collar, hunching his back like a quail. Seeing his cowardly demeanor, I asked him, genuinely curious, "How exactly did you become a yin-yang courier?" Master Zhu, piqued by the disdain in my eyes, refused to show weakness and straightened his back, proudly saying, "Naturally, His Highness Yang has a discerning eye. Among the vast sea of people, he chose me, a truly exceptional talent." "Tisk, good at boosting your own ego, aren't you?" So I said, "Well then, you go first later, no problem, right?" "Of course," Master Zhu said, then suddenly reacted mid-sentence, regretting it too late, wishing he could bite off his own tongue. I smiled faintly, my eyes teasing. "His Highness Yang has a discerning eye to choose you, Master Zhu, a 1,000-mile steed. You wouldn't disgrace your master, would you?" At this point, Master Zhu was in a predicament, unable to advance or retreat. He could only immediately agree, hating how deep a hole he had dug for himself. Arriving at the Flesh Fiend's door, Master Zhu stood there for a long time, seeing no movement. Impatiently, I urged him, "Knock on the door." Master Zhu's voice trembled. "Wait, I'm nervous." No sooner had he finished speaking than I suddenly smelled a strong, acrid odor. My gaze dropped, only to see Master Zhu's legs trembling like a dog's, his previously dry trousers now completely soaked. "Damn it," I inwardly cursed. I truly didn't know what Sadako saw in him. "If you can't do it, don't force yourself." I reached out to grab the food bag from Master Zhu's hand, but he jumped back as if protecting his precious meal. "You can call me a coward, but you cannot look down on me." With that, he curled his fingers and knocked on the door. Knock, 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 3 knocks. From inside came the Flesh Fiend's cold voice. "What the hell?" The Flesh Fiend forcefully opened the door. Looking down at the frail, small Master Zhu before him, he squinted, seemingly assessing where this prey had come from. Sadako quietly asked me, "Your Highness, the Flesh Fiend isn't going to eat him, is he?" "No, he's too ugly." Indeed, the Flesh Fiend showed no interest in him whatsoever. He used 2 fingers to pinch Master Zhu, intending to toss him out. Master Zhu frantically waved his hands and cried out, "Wait, wait, I'm here to deliver food to you." "Food?" The Flesh Fiend paused for a moment. Master Zhu nodded his head like pounding garlic, hurriedly opening the food bag. In an instant, the fragrant scent of the rice balls wafted out. I had used the Flesh Fiend's own skin as the sticky rice wrapper, adding various spices to create a mouth-watering aroma. He couldn't resist the temptation. His fist-sized nostrils flared, and he snatched the rice ball, throwing it into his mouth. The more he chewed, the more he felt something was off. The wrapper of the rice ball refused to break down. He reached into his mouth to pull out the wrapper, saw the bizarre greenish-purple and blue piece of skin, and suddenly felt a strange familiarity, but couldn't quite place where he'd seen it. I slowly emerged from the thick, sky-obscuring fog, smiling faintly as I asked, "Delicious, isn't it? That's your own skin." The Flesh Fiend froze for a moment, then reacted, his face turning purple with rage. "Damn you, you dare play games with me?" He summoned his scythe, slashing through the air. In an instant, the sharp scythe quickly dispersed the misty fog, exposing us to his demonic aura. I grabbed Master Zhu by the collar and leaped onto the roof, staring down at him from above. "You like eating skin so much, why don't you try a taste of your own? It'll grow back anyway. Consider this recycling waste, saving you from harming others." The last time, the Flesh Fiend was bitten and injured by Sadako. His old wounds hadn't healed, making his movements a bit slow. In the underworld realm, I couldn't act against him without reservations, but I also didn't need to save anyone, so I wasn't eager for a drawn-out fight. When the Flesh Fiend raised his scythe and leaped, I casually threw Master Zhu out as a human shield. He was so terrified his face turned pale, and he opened his mouth to curse. "Yin, you truly are a wicked woman, you've caused me no end of trouble." As he cursed, he covered his head with both hands, face down, the TV on his back exposed to the air. Coincidentally, the Flesh Fiend's scythe chopped the TV in half. Damn it, who dares disturb my dream? Sadako's temporary abode was destroyed, her dream interrupted. She shot out from the screen. She hovered in midair, her eyes filled with resentment, scanning between me and the two demons. Master Zhu tumbled to the ground, shaking his head frantically, tears welling up. Wifey, it wasn't me. When I looked over, innocently shrugging, the answer was obvious. Sadako's expression immediately turned fierce. Her waist-length hair stood on end, instantly transforming into arrows that shot towards the Flesh Fiend. The flexible hair plunged into his eyes, nostrils, mouth, and ears, churning within him. I could almost hear the chaotic churning of his insides. A bit disgusting. I'll have to teach Sadako proper fighting techniques later. It can't always be so simply brutal. Master Zhu, unable to bear it any longer, sprang up like a carp, staggering from the ground to hide in a corner, leaning against a chipped tombstone and vomiting until he felt dizzy. Seeing that the battle situation here was clear, I flashed into the Flesh Fiend's house. The scene inside made my heart pound and legs tremble. In the spacious living room, 2 or 3 dozen clotheslines were strung up, and on each line hung 4 or 5 human skins. In places I didn't know, how many innocent girls had the Flesh Fiend massacred? In the corner, charcoal fires crackled. I walked over. On a grilling rack lay a piece of human skin, grilled crispy and fragrant, making one's mouth water. Ah, quite the chef, aren't you? I waved my sleeve, and the skins flew into my sleeve. These were all bloody evidence of his crimes. Furthermore, I would take these skins back to see if Yang had any way to revive them. But the number of victims was too great, it was probably futile. In an instant, the living room was completely cleared. I heard the desperate and pathetic sobbing of a girl from the inner room. 2 girls huddled in a cold corner, clinging to each other for warmth. Seeing me, their shoulders trembled with fear. I stopped, comforting the 2 girls. No need to be afraid, I'm here to save you. They looked at me fearfully, not daring to move. I softened my expression, extended my hand towards them, my voice gentle and a little enchanting. Stand up, I'll take you away. The 2 girls' expressions immediately became blank. They dazedly stood up and walked towards me. Just as they were about to touch my hand, a loud asterisk crash. The door was knocked open, and the short, fat Flesh Fiend rolled in, curled into a ball. His entire body was wrapped in thick, dense black hair, creating a powerful visual impact. Seeing him about to crash into the 2 girls, I quickly teleported in front of them, erecting a barrier to withstand the Flesh Fiend's attack. Get out of the way, Sadako roared, snatching the Flesh Fiend's scythe and cutting off her own hair. The next second, she crawled onto the roof at an incredibly fast speed, with Master Zhu following her, holding a torch. The Flesh Fiend, tangled into a ball by hair, his sight and hearing blocked, could only blindly charge based on instinct. He violently destroyed the furniture in the inner room. Master Zhu trembled, holding the torch, following the Flesh Fiend, doing something unknown. Sadako, unable to bear it anymore, urged him, "What are you doing standing there blankly? Hurry up." I frowned slightly, vaguely guessing their intentions, and threw a body-binding talisman onto the Flesh Fiend. The Flesh Fiend's rolling actions immediately ceased. Master Zhu quickly rushed over, fumbling around his body, and from what appeared to be his rear, pulled out a long braid of hair, then lit it. The braid crackled, sparks flying everywhere like burning fireworks. Sadako, seeing the plan succeed, flashed over, grabbed Master Zhu, and rushed out of the inner room. It's about to explode. Your Highness, hurry! I carried 1 girl on my back, following them out of that house. The moment we burst out, we heard a asterisk boom asterisk, a massive explosion. The Flesh Fiend was even blown up to the point of not having a single hair left, his body and spirit completely annihilated. This method of demon extermination, even in a demon-hunting movie, would be considered peak. It wasn't until we left the underworld realm and returned to the mortal realm that we finally stopped running. By then, Sadako's long hair had transformed into neat short hair, making her look refreshed and clean. Yet, she showed no regret for her hair. Instead, she excitedly asked me, well, Your Highness, did I do well?" "Indeed, very well." At the time, I thought Sadako would tear the Flesh Fiend apart, but I never expected her to stuff her own hair into his body, turn him into a bomb, and then use a fuse to blow him up. Sadako, delighted by my praise, became even more cheerful. This was a plan Master Zhu and I discussed together. I raised an eyebrow, rather curious, looking at Master Zhu, who was cowering like a quail, and asked, "The fire you used to light the Flesh Fiend, the Red Lotus Karma fire, where did you get it from?" Master Zhu was still shaken, rubbing his chest to calm himself. Hearing my question, he immediately perked up, boastfully saying, "Naturally it was bestowed by His Highness Yang. Are you jealous? It seems he still favors me a bit more." Damn it, my fist clenched. I brought the two missing girls back to the police station, omitting the entire process of finding them and erasing their memories of the journey. Both sets of parents were immensely grateful. They held my hands, crying and distraught, insisting on inviting me to dinner. It took me a long time to politely decline. Xian linked arms with me as we left the police station, whispering to me when we coincidentally met Yang, who had come to pick us up. "Kiddo." The corner of his lips curved into a smile, and he extended a hand towards me, but I didn't budge. Xian's heart blossomed with joy upon seeing him, and she kept winking at me. Yang, not understanding what shady business was afoot, subtly furrowed his brow. I remembered my promise to Xian and awkwardly scratched my nose. Sorry, Yang, would you mind having dinner with Miss Bai tonight?" Then I quickly explained the unspoken agreement between Xian and me. Done. Regardless of whether he agreed or not, I pushed Xian into his arms and bolted. "Yang, you're a human-shaped tool." Yang indeed had candlelight dinner with Xian as promised, but the meal was not as romantic as she had imagined. During the meal, Yang shed all pretense of etiquette. Throughout, he behaved like an uneducated savage, picking his nose, burping, and even using the hand he'd just used to touch his foot to cut her steak. In an instant, the beautiful image of Yang in Xian's heart vanished. She even felt nauseated and disgusted. The meal nearly gave her a heart attack. When Xian recounted the story to me, her eyes rolled back, almost popping out, filled with endless regret. How could I have liked such a thing back then? She couldn't even find an adjective to describe it. As she told the tale, I couldn't imagine how a refined and optimistic Yang could perform such acts. It was clear how desperate he was to extinguish Xian's infatuation. After all, mortals and spirits walk different paths. This was a karmic entanglement destined to be fruitless. This incident would be enough for me to tease him for a long time. The director of the Supernatural Management Bureau, knowing the Flesh Fiend had been eliminated, was overjoyed. He brought his subordinates to thank us. He enthusiastically invited us to stay and help them deal with the gangster boss. I leaned back on the sofa, my voice cold and indifferent. This matter falls within our scope of work, but the director's incompetence and stubborn self-importance mean he is no longer suitable for this position. In an instant, the director's fawning demeanor vanished, replaced by an explosive rage. "Yin, just because others call you your highness, do you really think you're so high and mighty, so formidable? Although you are one of the contenders for the next King Yama, your nature is inherently evil, an embodiment of wickedness. The underworld would never agree to you becoming the next King Yama." This was my inverse scale. Although my nature was evil, I had never actually committed any evil deeds. This director was now revealing his true colors, dancing on my sensitive spot. This time, I truly wanted to kill him. My palms slowly channeled demonic power, but before I could act, Yang, understanding my thoughts one step ahead, suddenly stood up, summoned the scroll of life and death, flipped to the director's page, and decisively tore it. The director instantly turned to dust and blew away. Master Zhu, who had never seen Yang kill someone like that and was previously flirting with Sadako, suddenly felt his buttocks tremble and he fell off the sofa. "Coward," I scoffed. Yang coldly glanced at the director's subordinates and said, "A new director of the Supernatural Management Bureau will soon be appointed. If anyone dares to disrespect Her Highness Yin again, this will be their fate." His tone was devoid of any ripple, yet it carried immense pressure, as if hammering into the heart of each person. Master Zhu was terrified stiff. Sadako pinched Master Zhu's ear, subtly threatening him. "See, His Highness Yang is a doting brother. Obediently listen to me or else just wait to die." Master Zhu, his eyes welling with tears, his heart as cold as ashes, honestly nodded. "I understand." Sadako giggled, raising an eyebrow at me, a smug look on her face. As an aside, Sadako, due to a 60-inch LCD TV, began dating Master Zhu. I decisively allowed her to stay in the mortal realm as my contact. Her job in the mortal realm was to host late-night live streams, telling bedtime stories to netizens. "Sleep soundly with Sadako's voice, wishing you sweet dreams." I thought I could finally enjoy my vacation in peace, but then Yang arrived, saying that a blue whale had somehow swum to the banks of the river Styx. A blue whale. That's not a creature of the underworld, and I'm still in the mortal realm. my phone suddenly received a strange message. 4:20, wake me up. Someone has sent me a death invitation.